All right, so it's a lovely good evening and welcome to Meet Your Leaders right here on Ubuntu channel. Um, it feels great to be back on the program, especially owing to the fact that for 2 weeks running, we haven't been coming live to you. Apologies, this was due to circumstances beyond our control. But however, we are back today and for the year 2024 for the last Wednesday of the month, talking about January, which at some point looks like a spam January because it has moved too quickly. I was waiting for it to be a 3 months long in 1 month. But however, I am your host, Lance Sani Banda, and of course, this evening, still talking about or still bringing to you the youthful gestures of Zambia coming through from Fight Inequality Zambia. He's a national coordinator. He goes by the name of MPUTA NGALANDE, and discussing democratic issues, discussing issues that affect both the young people and the inhabitants of a country. Zambia's democratic and economic performance is what we are looking at. And of course, we want to see or we want to depict what is the true picture, all right? Of course, talking about politics as well as governance, not forgetting the people of this great country, Zambia. MPUTA, good evening. Welcome to the program.
Good evening, Lancy, and thank you for having me. I'll try to keep to turn my camera on, but where I am, the network is a bit bad. So please bear with me. I'll turn it on, and if the network persists to be bad, then I'll leave it off like this. I don't know if that's okay.
Well, that is fine.
Okay with the viewers and everyone.
Yeah, that is fine. What is important, obviously, is to have this particular discussion. And to you, our dear viewer, remember that you can be part of this show by simply leaving us a comment right underneath this broadcast. Or better still, send us a message and we'll be able to read it out loud and have your concerns heard, or probably have your questions answered and of course looked at in a way that can be befitting or benefiting for the country. MPUTA, you are not here for the first time, but obviously this time around you are wearing a different jersey as we are hosting you as the national coordinator for an organization that has been very vocal, very active on the ground, talking to the people affected in different ways, and also in around areas that this organization is looking at. Let's get it into terms with our viewers that are obviously hearing about Fight Inequality Zambia for the first time. What is this organization? What is its core value?
Thank you very much. Also, Fight Inequality Alliance is not an organization. It's a movement, a social movement. So the difference between a social movement and an organization is that a social movement is more so classified as a pressure group, obviously, of some sort. And our main aim is to look at issues to do with inequality, largely on issues of economic inequality, sure that our people access the best of services, making sure that we hold government accountable and offer alternatives. Like I'll dive into how we offer alternatives even before we as a country we headed in this direction. There were alternatives that we offered, and we believe if we had gone in that particular direction, I don't think we would have been struggling like we're struggling now. But the direction that was taken, and as a movement, as an alliance, we even offered a report, a comprehensive report outlining the different directions that the government should take in terms of the economic outlook on how to deal with the debt. Aside from that, on how just to manage the economy in 2021, and that was shelved, and nothing in that particular report or some of the alternatives that we offered. These alternatives are not just alternatives from nowhere. No, these were alternatives that were gotten after thorough consultations, at thorough research, and these were some of the alternatives. And the government still opted to go with the common framework, and we were promised victory and honey. But alas, we're being told to tighten our belts, and those are some of the issues that, as fighting, we have been categorical, making sure that any policies that are put in place are not policies on the front lines of inequality at a disadvantage.
All right, pretty interesting. And of course, let me also take this time to recognize my co-host, CHAZA, who has just joined us on this particular broadcast. CHAZA, good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening, Lance. Thank you so much, and good evening to our guest, Mr. MPUTA.
All right. Remember, our dear viewer, that you can be part of this program by simply leaving us a comment and sending us a message as we are discussing this very pertinent topic, which is eye-catching, as well as also which provokes a very important discussion as well as debate towards what we are discussing. So, Mr. NGALANDE, quickly, we are looking at Zambia's democratic and economic performance. Before we go to the question of this aspect, you have talked of offering alternatives to government in terms of what it should do and what should be done in attaining certain issues that will have a positive impact on the general citizenry of the country. When we look at our democratic and economic performance currently, are we in the right direction? Are you happy as a movement with what is happening? Is this what you perceived, or is this where you perceived we were going to be at this particular time?
This is not what, as fighting inequality, there's a saying, twice beaten, twice shy, right? So we have been at this juncture before. We have been on this road before, and this road has nothing but has shown us how as a country we have suffered, and more so the people, the marginalized, the way they have suffered. And this is not because and
Well, I don't know if it's just me or maybe Comrade MPUTA, your network is really bad. Well, I thought so, because I think I could hardly hear him here and there, obviously answering to that very important question, and of course trying to get his perspective on where we are. Remember, we are discussing Zambia's democratic and economic performance. Is this the true picture? What we are seeing, is this the true picture? Obviously, we talk in politics against human nature or against what is pertaining. Our guest this evening is MPUTA NGALANDE, who is a national coordinator for Fighting Inequality Alliance Zambia. Now, obviously, this is a Zambian chapter that gets to look at the affairs of that gets to look at the affairs, obviously, of people in different spheres, as well as in different economic activities and different things. Like I said, you can be a part of this program by simply joining us, leaving a comment right underneath this broadcast. Let's get to hear from you, your question, your input, as well as what you think might be the solution to whatever that we are discussing. Is this the true picture when we talk about Zambia's democracy and economic performance? Is this the true picture? If not, what is the true picture? And of course, how can we improve, or how can we make things better? Leave us that comment, share with us that input, as well as drop us that message. We'll be glad to hear from you, and we'll be able to read it out loud right here. And obviously, shortly into the program, we'll be able to share with you the studio link where you can join us live into the studio, and let's just have this particular discussion. MPUTA, before the network rudely dropped you out of the studio, we were obviously discussing the democratic and economic performance of Zambia. Is this where you anticipated us to be? Your network was cutting. If maybe we can pick it up from the top. All right, so it appears that Comrade MPUTA is out again. Obviously, this is due to network here and there. Well, CHAZA, we haven't been, I think, for 1 or 2 weeks, more like on a break, or circumstances beyond our control. We haven't, catch up in terms of how you are doing. How have you been?
I've been okay, and as it were, the body sometimes is down, you are up, and it's part of going forward. I've been up and about. How about yourself?
Well, I've been fine too. I've been well, been here and there, and of course, pushing 1 or 2 things, which obviously led to the absence of a few weeks that we've been out. But however, we are back, and this time around, obviously, continuing to talk about issues that affect the nation at large, and other things that are affecting the young people, as well as the general citizenry of this country.
Talking about things that are affecting people, I've just heard, haven't yet seen that fuel has been increased. You can testify to that.
Well, it is what it is. But anyway, let's get to check if Comrade is back. MPUTA, are you able to hear me?
Yes, I'm able to get you.
Okay, thank you so much. We couldn't quite get you loudly because of the connection. Obviously, if we can pick it up from the top in terms of where we are, did you anticipate this as as a movement where we are, and what might have gone wrong, if there's anything that went wrong that we are here, or what might have gone right that we are here where we are?
Yes, so like I mentioned that the first time we heard that the new Dogon government was going to get the IMF, were, as usual, were critical as a movement, because as an alliance, because 1980s, 1990s, 2000, it's the same story where the people suffer, and if you tightening your belts, where the tightening our belts only works for those that are living on the front lines of inequality. So we're a bit skeptical. And if you read our report called Options for Economic, what we dubbed as options, for economic recovery, right? For sustainable economic recovery, options for sustainable economic recovery. When you just type that in Google, or you go to our website at fightinginequality.org, you will find this report, a comprehensive report, and some of the recommendations that were put forward there that was that Zambia did not, because our creditors were very, very different. We have a whole lot of different creditors, and they come in different dimensions, and some of them being China, the Paris Club, also. So using the proposed common framework under the extended credit facility was not going to work. And categorically, I think when we mentioned this as an alliance and we preached this message, we were looked at as doom, as naysayers and doom, and wishing the government to fail. But you cannot, the way the extended credit facility or the common framework, the G20 common framework was structured, it was not going to work, because you cannot, what we needed as a country was making sure that we meet each creditor separately and come to terms with them separately in a manner that is respectful. But the way we did it, that's where we are now. And no wonder the president now is lamenting that Zambia is a guinea pig that the IMF is using to test, and this is not the first time. Even the structural adjustment program that happened in the 1980s, Kaunda midway saw that this is going to be detrimental to my people, and he backed out, right? So these and when we follow these programs to the latter, like we did with the privatization period, there are a lot of effects that not only us that will feel, but even our future children will feel, because now it's very difficult to find jobs and all that, because all government-owned companies were privatized, and we privatized a lot of our assets at a giveaway price, not even giveaway price, at prices that when we look back and we think of those people, we start thinking, what were our forefathers thinking? And that is in a sense dangerous. So the best way, if you read that report, the best way would have gone forward and dealt with this debt crisis and this debt situation. We needed to sit down with each creditor separately and discuss terms and look at how these issues were resolved. But the first instance, when the president, even before understanding how the situation was, it is like he made the decision when he was still in the opposition that he's going to go to the IMF, and no one would tell him, and no one would tell this government to look at issues in a different sense. And this is where we are. We are hoping that they find the solutions soon. And moreover, I know a lot of people saying no, but it's a global environment and blah 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 blah. All those excuses that we're giving, but we elect leaders with a sole responsibility of managing these challenges, and you can't go home to your wife, Professor Lanzi, and say, I couldn't bring mini meal today, or maybe for a certain period of 1 month, and complain. You keep complaining, but not offering solutions. And this is what unfortunately we have seen from this government. A 5 hours press conference, just lamenting and no solutions that are coming forth, and that is disappointing. We expected more from him and him and his government, and they must deliver, and there is no two ways about it. And as an alliance and as other progressive Zambians that are out there that are offering solutions, and as a country, I think we need to mature to a stage, as our democracy matures, where we look at issues. When a person suggests a solution, we should not look at where the solution is coming from, or try to be political about it. There are certain people that are very patriotic and offer solutions that are very patriotic. And I beg to now believe that, as I think our leaders know what needs to be done, but I think we lack a lot of unpatriotic Zambians and patriotic leaders that even if they know what they are doing, and they will not act in the direction to save the people. And maybe our forefather Kaunda was right. We don't need public officers who also own businesses. That is dangerous, because they put the interest of their businesses, the interest of pocketing money, the interest of succeeding and making profits from their businesses at the expense of saving the people, and that is dangerous. I think we should revert back. A public officer, a public who is serving the public, must not own any business ventures and get contracts from the government. It is dangerous.
Mm. That is pretty interesting, and if you ask me, I think we've seen evolutions happening. The world is evolving, so maybe having a public servant not owning a business or businesses would also maybe somehow um, act negatively or on the impact that they have, obviously, or on their family. Because remember, we are one big family that always has extended family members that would be depending on you, a chain of them, because somehow, somewhere, you are more like the breadwinner of this extended family. But anyway, that aside, I want us to touch the economic performance before we get to democratic performance. You will agree with me that in these compounds or in these streets, you wouldn't walk more than 10 steps and not find one or two people complaining about the economic situation in the country. Microeconomics, have died. There's no money in circulation. A small business holder or owner is complaining that they are unable to meet their daily demands, their daily supply, because there's no money in circulation. The kwacha is not there. The dollar is quite high for this small business owner. Government will come and boast to say they've boosted the economy because of measures that they've put across to suit to it, that there's free market flow. Everyone can, can trade or can start a business. What is the true picture about our economic, performance, or our economic outlook?
Well, when you look at the IMF and the World Bank, I think they talk about Zambia having grew. Even the Minister of Finance had talked about Zambia growing at a GDP of 2%. Really, we can even boast that after growing at 2%, we can even boast that that is growth. That is nothing. The population, the way the population has grown in the last 1 year, and how the GDP is doing, it's not. It's going in a direction that is very disastrous. So the growth of the economy, the way we're looking at it now, and the way things are not looking good, that can tell. And also we can continue taking. No, we are at the inflation rate is coming down, but look at look at how the dollar to a kwacha is performing. So is it that now these statistics that they are giving us are not true? The real aspect of the economy is that we are heavily producing natural resources in form of copper, and making hefts sum of money. Those that are investing, that have invested in these mines, have made a lot of money. They are making a lot of money. Business is good for them, right? And when time comes for them to pay tax, they will talk about losses they have made and whatever. But moreover, when they go and sell this copper outside, they do not bank in Zambia, right? And because they do not bank in Zambia, we lose forex at a larger extent, and that is the biggest challenge that we have. We do not own these mines, and that is the largest part of our economy, and that is what ticks right. So the problem that we have is that we have left this in the hands of foreigners that keep telling us that they're making losses and refuse to pay what is due to an extent that is very important. You see in the previous budgets where we get tax deductibles, mineral royalty tax made deductible, corporate tax made reduced from 35% to 25%. Check how much we have lost. We have lost over a billion a quarter just by that reduction, and also giving even simple issues of people from the European countries coming to Zambia, giving them visa-free entrance to Zambia when they can afford. A government that is saying we need all revenues that we can get at every point cannot make such decisions where you give the people that can afford to pay for visa fees a free entrance, visa free. You can't afford like that, and then you go and add a levy on mobile money, in person-to-person mobile money transactions, right? And say no, we need to get as much as revenue as we can because we're in a debt situation. But just just some 11 months ago, you gave European countries in the European Union free entry to Zambia, and what are you talking about now? So I think there is a lot of inconsistency. Say the government is saying this, in the other hand, and doing separate and going a separate direction. And I think we need to consolidate as a country and more so own the means of production and own the mines and make sure that what we're getting fair deals in the mines. Only getting jobs, a minimum wage jobs or 10,000 minimum wage jobs is not enough. We are not securing the future. It is dangerous, and posterity will judge us harshly, because when these minerals are done, when these resources are done and we have nothing to show for, it will be, they will look at us, and they will look at us in shame. And we must make and make sure that we control that front, because that is the largest part of how we can be able to even keep forex. Aside from that, we have a lot of gold in this country. Can the reserve, the Zambian reserve, start being a reserve of gold? Because gold is not like when it is kept in the reserve as gold, it has value compared to when you are keeping something that is printed. For example, USD, our reserves are kept in USD. USD has no real value because that's paper. But when we are keeping gold, then we have real value and real reserves that we can back in a case where we're in a crisis and we need to cushion or put a certain or pump into the like what I've seen now, where we're in a crisis. If we had reserves in terms of gold, we just get that gold, sell and get forex and pump into the put into circulation. That then brings back might bring the dollar down, but we can't do that because, and like I mentioned, our leaders know. A lot of people in power know what needs to be done. The only thing is that we are unpatriotic. We have unpatriotic Zambians that are in charge of this government, and that is why we are in this state. Because I don't believe people and brilliant minds that we have in this country. There's no people at Bank of Zambia. There's no people at Ministry of Finance that know exactly what needs to be done. I don't believe that.
All right, our dear viewers, remember that you can be part of the program by leaving us a comment underneath this broadcast. So we are broadcasting to you on our Facebook page, which is Ubuntu Channel Zambia, as well as also on Twitter, Ubuntu Channel Zambia. Not forgetting YouTube as well is it's Ubuntu Channel Zambia. And this is Meet Your Leaders, the program that comes your way every Wednesday from 20 to 21 hours with me, your host, Lance Nibanda, together with my co-host, CHAZA. This evening, playing host to MPUTA NGALANDE, who is the national coordinator for Fighting Inequality Alliance Zambia, and we are discussing Zambia's democratic and economic performance. What is the true picture? All right, so you can get to share with us your answer, your perspective, or your take on our topic of discussion. I don't know, Chaza, if you would love to come in. Otherwise, if not, I can continue. I have a very burning question for MPUTA.
Thank you, Lance. Maybe I can just bring up one question before you come in. I've heard Mr. MPUTA indicating that the government leaders, they know what is good and they know what is supposed to be done. So I would like to find out then, where is the problem, and why is it that with the full knowledge of what is supposed to be done, then things are done in a way that is detrimental to ourselves and also detrimental to the future generations? Why is it so?
Thank you very much. The problem that there lies in, comrades, is that we have politics became commercial, and because they came commercial, people go into government for business deals and not to save, and that's the biggest challenge that we have as a country. When you look at how recklessly the previous government borrowed, you will see that when this borrowing was being done, there were a lot of stakeholders that said this borrowing is not unsustainable. The appetite for infrastructure at this stage, where it is financed largely by borrowing, is not sustainable. We know very well which Minister of Finance led us to this situation, right? And even now, we know very well, the people in government know very well how we must collect enough revenues and what we must do. For example, in introducing mineral royalty taxes, they know very well what must be done. But the greed that is there is that these people are getting contracts, they have businesses, and this country going in a direction that is very good, it's bad for their businesses. And that is the biggest challenge that we have as a country. No wonder, as a people, we need to amend, most especially the constitution, and make sure that people holding public office, one, they must declare their assets, and they must not run businesses while they are in office. Those that want to be businessmen, business women, must remain in business and run in business. Those that want to be public servants, in public service, they should serve in public service, but solely serve like that. By nature, we cannot say no. Even if I own a business, but integrity, no. It is in human nature, colleagues and dear viewers. It is in human nature, when you are sitting and you have a choice to make a decision, and there is no proper accountability measures that can deter you from making a decision, where you want to make a decision to give a tender and you are the one responsible, and there is a company that can offer the same services that belongs to you. It is in human nature that you go in the direction of giving your own company that contract or tender, and there lies the problem, right? There lies a problem We have, even when these companies are coming, or these multinational corporations are coming to our country to come and do business, we know very well, they know very well what must be done. But a few greedy and patriotic Zambian with business motives and wanting to make a lot of money, is no wonder they're even refusing to declare their assets, some of them, because they know very well we'll be able to track and see how much their pensions are, how much their allowances are. And when we do the calculation, we'll be able to say it's very difficult for someone to amass this wealth in this particular period. And because the accountability measures, for example, the toothless ACC, the toothless Drug Enforcement Commission, in the issues of money laundering and whatever, those are toothless institutions. Why? Because all those people that are in charge of those institutions, it is one man that appoints, and you cannot bite the finger that has appointed you. It is very difficult to go against the authority that has appointed you. And because we do not have a very good accountability measures or institutions to hold those that are in power accountable, it has been difficult for us to protect the interests of Zambians, and making sure that those that are acting in office, those that are at a certain particular time holding office, must act in the interest of the people. It has become difficult because these institutions, comrades, are not institutions that are independent. And that in itself has caused us to be where we are now. And that is the difficult part, where no wonder I'm saying we know very well. Even the presidency, or the president, where he's sitting there, he knows what must be done to the constitution for us to protect ourselves, to protect the interests of Zambians. But that will not be done because it limits how much they amass, how much they plunder the resources, how much they award themselves at these deals. And therein lies the problem: commercializing public service and commercializing politics. And that is the difficult part that we have.
Well, that is very elaborate, and of course, hopefully, my colleague Chaza has gotten the response. And I don't know if there's a follow up. Chaza, do we have a follow up?
I think I can hand it back to you. I may come in later.
Okay, thank you so much. Great. For you that are just joining us, this is Meet Your Leaders on Ubuntu channel, a program that comes your way every Wednesday from 20 to 21, where we get to discuss different issues, various issues, governance, as well as politics, and also not forgetting social issues discussed right here, and religious issues. Now, this evening, we are discussing Zambia's democratic and economic performance. What is the true picture? And my guest, or our guest this evening, is MPUTA NGALANDE, who is a national coordinator for Fighting Inequality Alliance Zambia. MPUTA, let me still bring you back to the issue of, I'm still more interested in the economic performance. Because obviously this is one issue that is very thorny in the Zambian citizens' flesh, especially owing to the fact that today we have seen an increment in the pump prices of fuel. But before touching that, or before getting into that, I would still want to come back to the issue of the exchange rate, because you touched the issue of reserves, reserving our currency, or having our reserves in gold instead of in USD. So I want to bring in the issue of Forex. Forex in 2021, obviously, then dollar to kwacha was standing at 16.77 kwacha. Now we are looking at the dollar getting to almost 27 point something kwacha. How does this gravely affect an ordinary citizen, owing to the fact that also our inflation rate, we've been told it has dropped to 13 point something from 22 point something that it was back in 2021. And then also cost of living has gone high despite that drop. JCTR, or Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection, puts it or pegs it at 9,700 and something kwacha for a family of 5 in Lusaka. This economic sector or spectator, into a life of a general citizen, I want you to touch more on the issue of Forex. We are trading almost to 28. How is this affecting a general Zambian? Comrade, are you here? I seem not to get you. Well, as we're waiting for our guest, obviously dropped off due to network. As we're waiting for our guest, remember that we have also shared with you the studio link, which you can use to join us into the studio, be part of the program, and let's get to discuss this pertinent issue as it is affecting all Zambians. And of course, it's an issue that we can all take part and participate in discussing so that we see on what the true picture is of our democratic and economic performance, as well as what are the indicators, how are we supposed to get to where we want to get. Remember, Zambia is a third world country with a developing economy. How do we get to being a developed economy? Director, I think I had seen a message that had popped up on the screen. As we are waiting for our guest, perhaps we can get to have it back. So this is Daniel Zulu. He says, how has the PF borrowing affected the current economy? How much has been paid in debt servicing since the UPND formed government? Obviously, thank you so much, Daniel. Obviously, this goes to our guest. Hopefully he's back soon, maybe to get to attend to this particular question. But however, from the information that the Minister of Finance has always brought out or has always given to the public is that debt restructuring is still an ongoing process. It's still happening. So our debt will be restructured, our debt will be repaid, and renegotiations or negotiations are still going on to see on how best our package, our payment plan, our repayment plan can be rescheduled, or how best it can be restructured so that we are not caught on the neck in terms of the bullet payback that we're supposed to make to these our creditors. And also remember that these creditors are not only creditors from outside. We also have local creditors that we have credit from. So it's both ways. We need to talk to all of them, or all of them need to come through on the table and see on how best we can get to have our debt restructured. Comrade, welcome back. And if you got the question, you may go straight into responding to it.
Hello, can you get me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, so the increase in terms of the kwacha to dollar, one kwacha going at 27 to somewhere 28 to a dollar.
$1
This,
27.
yeah, this translates into more increased prices of essential commodities, and with the increase of fuel, we'll see more increase. And we had an argument. So these are some of the conditionalities that came with the extended credit facility, right? So the extended credit facility came with these conditionalities, and the argument behind with when we had a meeting with a country representative of the IMF in Zambia and some representatives that had come from Washington at their offices, this is what we got. They were told fuel subsidies benefit the rich, and we were shown a research, and that research was done in Europe, right? So if you look at that research and you look at the landscape of Europe and public transport in Europe, you will see that yes, subsidizing fuel or gas or petrol in Europe benefits the rich, because owning a vehicle there is for the super rich, and because their public transport is very effective, everyone, even everyone when going for work. I was in Norway last year. Everyone even going for work, there is their public transport owned by the municipality are very good, and we have electric trains and all that, and hence there is less need to buy. But now come to Zambia, the context of Zambia, with if you do not subsidize fuel, it is a catastrophe, because price of commodity to get to one space to the other is high. Even every day for a marketeer to go and order price to go and order vegetables in Soweto, take back to the compound, that is transport. And if the transport is unstable, then there lies the need to increase. And if you are the working class, you need to get on a bus every day from maybe Garden Compound to Woodlands and back a day. And if then you are getting a minimum wage, and aside from getting a minimum wage, the prices of transport are not stable, and the increase in commodities, that largely affects the ordinary as the ordinary citizens. And it is a very and when we say no, tighten your belts, who are tightening their belts? If you look at ministers, they have fuel allowance, they have electricity allowance, they have housing allowance. So you see, at no, because there is free education, so that money that you needed to pay for school fees, now you would pay 1,000 for the whole year. And how much are you spending on gas? How much are you spending on transport? So tightening your belts, and as leaders, and no wonder when I say we have leaders who are unpatriotic and do not go into office to save all the people or for the interest of the people, right? They do not go into office, and you would see when change of government, I've witnessed the change of governments twice in my lifetime as a conscious human being, in 2011 and in 2021. Those that come into power now, they are in a manner sitting down and saying, we are going now, it is our time to enjoy. That we are going to
All right. We seem to continue having challenges there from our guest.
enjoy.
And
That is
okay,
not
Comrade,
and
okay, Comrade, I think the last part we were unable to get it. You've been skippish here and there. Wouldn't hear what you were saying. Are you able to hear me? Okay, yeah. So there goes our guest. Remember, you can be part of this discussion. You can be part of this program by coming through, leaving out a comment underneath this broadcast, and also sending us sending us also a comment as well as a message in our inbox. I don't know, so used with shouting the number, almost shouted the number, then I realized that we don't have the phone today, which also we can apologize for that. working towards getting it permanently and have it here, so that we can have you come through, and we can have you come through and obviously get to call us on that number. We'll be able to get it and provide that platform for you. But however, our discussion this evening is, what is the true picture looking at Zambia's democratic and economic performance? What is the true picture? How are we performing economically? How are we performing democratically? What is the true picture? Obviously, different stakeholders have come through, from civil society, social movements, politics, from the church religiously, as well as also just ordinary Zambians that do not want to participate in the political sphere, have come out differently and expressed themselves differently as far as the economic performance of Zambia is concerned. And like I said when I was starting, that you would agree with me, walking at least about 5 to 10 steps, you wouldn't be able not to find somebody who is complaining about the high cost of living, about the dollar being high, trading high. Obviously, when you put when Zambians believe that what they put on the table today is what is available, unlike the promissory notes or the promises to say it will be better this time around, or it will be better at a certain at a certain point in time. So Daniel comes back and says, so just so I get you clear, the thought of removing subsidies on fuel was as a result of a research whose study population was Europe. Like, I'm sure he's trying to say whose study was Europe. Wow. Obviously, that is for our guest to respond, since he brought up this issue. Hopefully, we get him back soon. But obviously, also, we need to be winding up, as time is also fastly approaching and fastly reaching to when we're supposed to be saying our bye-byes. And hey, Chaza, I don't know, are you here?
Yes, I am very much here, Lance.
Okay, perfectly. I don't know if you've taken note, or if you have heard, especially heard these sentiments coming out from the people on the street, to say at ekokwe akali muminwe ekobe, you know, you don't count on something that you haven't held yet. You look at what is there. Sentiments are different from the Zambian people from all spheres of life. Others, they think the economy is doing fine. Others, the economy is bad. Others, it's mild, it's moderate. I don't know. Have you come across such people sharing different views to the economic performance?
Yeah, Lance, I would say, yeah, I've come across so many of such sentiments. And, you know, such sentiments are propelled by the lifestyle that, you know, the majority of the Zambians are actually, you know, living in. Because if you talk about an average, you know, Zambian who is getting a minimum wage or somewhere around minimum wage, what do they have, you know, even in terms of investment, and how do they think, you know, in terms of the future? It's like what they have in their hands definitely is what they think is everything that they have. They get a salary, you know, it goes straight into eating, you know, and transport issues. It's like it's a survival. So if someone, you know, tells them about the future, about investments and so on and so forth, it doesn't add up to them. They would like to have, you know, the share of the cake today. They believe that today is the appointed day, unlike the day that you have not seen, which is tomorrow, you know. And that
Yeah.
is actually the calculation of what development is. If they can't see it, they can't touch it, they can't feel it, then it's not there. Then there's no improvement at all.
Mm. definitely there's no improvement at all if Akabwali is not easily accessed. Comrade, do I have you so that maybe we can quickly move to two issues that have been raised by one of the viewers?
Are you able to get me?
Yes, yes, I'm able to hear you now.
Okay.
Okay. So if director, if we can go to the first message that which we received, so that we can have at least our guests get to respond to that one, and the second one that came through from the same person. So, Comrade Puta, Daniel says, how has the PF borrowing affected the current economy? How much has been paid in debt servicing since the UPND formed government? And then also he followed up, obviously from our discussion, he sent through this other message. Director, if we can also have that one. He sent through this other message in response, or maybe in trying to find out more from what you said. Director, can we have the other message that came through from Daniel? All right, so he continues, he says, just so I get you clear, the thought of removing subsidies on fuel was as a result of a research whose study population was Europe. That's another question coming through from Daniel. Can you get to respond to these two?
Thank you very much, comrade. Yes, the first one with regards to the research where the removal of subsidies was based, according to the country representative of the IMF, is Europe, and that's where we argued on principle and said we made an earnest appeal saying that study does not speak to the context of Zambia, and it was not right to use that context, that because in Europe it benefits the rich, subsidizing fuel, it should be used in our context as well. That was not right. How much money when hello, can you get me?
Yes, yes, I can get you.
Oh, thank you. So I have the network in the area I live. The network is very bad, so I'm trying to make a move. Hope the reception will stabilize. Yeah. So another thing, how much do we owe, and how much has been paid back? Unfortunately, when the PF left, we are somewhere around 25 billion, both external and the internal debt. Now we are somewhere at 32 billion USD, both internal and external. So which means our debt keeps growing, and that is the unfortunate part. Our debt keeps growing, and even this government is borrowing. And that is the unfortunate part. Even the extended credit facility that we got from the IMF, that is a loan. The only difference is that it is a loan with much less interest compared to the other loans that the previous government had got, and that is the only difference. But that is a loan. So yes, to answer your question, yes. And how did the massive borrowing of the PF affect us? You have seen there is no medicine in hospitals. The economy is in shambles, and I think in their last part, as the government, I think they realized that they had made a mess. That's where we saw trying to weigh heavily on the mines, so that maybe they can collect enough revenue. That is now me thinking out loud. I think that is the reason why they had a quarrel with Vidanta. In my thinking, I'm thinking now they wanted to start heavily on collecting enough revenue so that maybe we can finance some of the sectors that had a problem with us, and that is very understandable. But remember, the minister, one minister, Alexander Chwanda, at the time, including the late president Michael Chilufya-Sata, when his government was borrowing heavily, I think a lot of stakeholders and non-government organizations that say this borrowing is not sustainable. And when we were addressing with this government, when we started talking about not going to the IMF and not accessing the the G20 common framework under the extended credit facility, we had mentioned, and people said, no, we need to give this money a chance. And we said, no. But the previous government, we gave them a chance. And by the time we realized that we needed to change or act in a manner that is very progressive, it was too late. So we need to start acting now. And this is and no wonder we do not subscribe to the idea of saying, no, let's give them time and see what they are doing, that we might go in the same direction like the previous government did. So we must act now, and we must make sure that the series of pushing and making sure that the government and those that are leading us now do the right thing, and we must start now. Making sure, yes, there has been legal reforms that have been put in place where Parliament will have a say on how we borrow. But that, even if the law is into play, it will only start to it was signed and it was the law, but there is a condition that it will start working after 2027, and until now. From now until 2027, those in office are at liberty to borrow at any time without Parliament getting involved, the representatives of the people getting involved. And so, how do you come up with a law here that is structured in that sense? It is something that puzzles me, and until now, I've not understood what was the rationale going in that direction.
All right. Quickly, maybe let's get to touch on our democratic performance. Obviously, different views and sentiments will still continue coming in. The ruling party would say there's peace, there's freedom of expression, there's freedom to assemble, there's freedom of everything that they can list and mention. Then obviously the opposition will come and rebut those claims or refute those claims. Civil society also has got its own version of our democratic performance. What do you think is our performance in terms of democracy? Are we slowly attaining that democratic tenet that which we need to have as a young democratic country, or we are still struggling here and there?
I think when this government started off, it started off very well. And now I think there are some dictatorial tendencies that are coming out from our leaders, and that in itself is very dangerous. We have seen the refusal by the police to grant political opposition, political parties to hold rallies. In a democracy, that must not happen. Another thing we have seen the refusal of citizens who decide to exercise their constitutional rights to go to the streets and do peaceful demonstrations. And those are some of the issues that weigh in terms of looking at what democracy is. And we have seen people, for example, the shooting of one young boy in Mfurira. That in itself we thought was a thing of the past, and we must, as a people, also hold government hold this government that is in power, the ruling party, accountable on those issues. It is not acceptable, and as well-meaning Zambians, we must come out and condemn that. And aside from that, the police must make sure that when citizens come in a manner that is constitutional and their constitutional rights must be granted when they want to protest. And also, we have seen unprecedented records of arrests. And when the president says no, no one will be held more than 48 hours, we have seen people being held more than 48 hours, not knowing the locations where they are, certain political leaders not knowing where uh, uh, um, uh, uh, they are, where they've been taken, some being taken at night. So that is not the tenets of democracy the way it's supposed to be, and we must, as a people, also hold our leaders accountable and make sure that the tenets of democracy, mostly this government that is they promised us, are looked at, and the right thing is done. And if we do not do that, this might go into a situation like it was in the previous regime. And the way it was in the previous regime, we reached a point where it was very difficult then to actually do certain things as a public and as a people. We must not always wait for 5 years for us to show how unhappy we are, because we'll have a mad president. And moreover, already the office of the president is above the law, because it has a lot of powers, and the powers that that office has, it is just good that we have not had a mad president. And I can promise you, in future, with the way the constitution sits and some of the provisions in the law, if they continue like this and we have a mad president in office, we're going to see it will be dangerous for us, and hence we must continue holding government accountable. And I think I've made my submission. Thank you.
Well, comrade, time is not really of our best essence. I would have loved us to continue with this chat. However, we must call it a close. But please be available for the next discussion that we might reach out to you for, as we get to see how best we can help Mother Zambia get to develop in all aspects and fronts. Thank you so much for appearing today on the program.
Thank you very much for having me, comrades.
All right. And of course, to you, our dear viewers, we really appreciate you being part of the program. And we apologize for the glitches that we had through into the program. But hey, we still managed to have the program and continue with what we do. Yes, this is Meet Your Leaders on Ubuntu channel. And we say thank you for being part of the program. On behalf of myself, CHAZA, as well as our producer, Emmanuel Konika, we say have a blessed evening until we meet again on Wednesday. Bye-bye.